Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corm Productions with my co-host Stacy, here to talk about the original series, Quantum Leap, Season 3, Episode 10, A Little Miracle. The episode's description reads as follows. Sam and Al scare the dickens out of a rich Scrooge character who wants to tear down a mission and build a high-rise. The episode was written by Sandy Fries. This is her only work on this series, with a teleplay credit to Robert Wolterstorff, who also has credits on Season 2's Jimmy and Her Charm. The episode was directed by Michael W. Watkins. This is his first work on the series. He would go on to direct 6 episodes in total, including another favorite of mine from this season, Last Dance Before an Execution, and the fan favorite episode, Killing Time. He has a pretty prolific directing career in television, having also directed episodes of The X-Files, Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, Justified, and most recently, The Blacklist, which is a show that my mom watches. Now, Stacey, are you familiar with that show?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
Right. It's not really sci-fi. It's not sci-fi at all, actually. The episode takes place on December 24th, 1962, and originally aired on December 21st, 1990. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. Well, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you are listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corm Productions, where additional content can be discovered, both Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and please subscribe to my channel. Alright, Stacey, your thoughts on this week's episode?
Well, this assigned week. Okay, so it's a Christmas episode, which was a little weird watching.
Yeah.
I remember back, like, when Christmas actually happened, we were talking about trying to get this episode done then.
And it didn't quite work out.
It didn't happen.
No.
And then, you know, the new series came back from hiatus, and covering original series episodes was put off for a while.
Right.
So here we are during the hiatus of the new Quantum Leap. And thank you for inviting me back to talk about the original episodes. Of course,
it's always a blast.
With you.
Always blast working with you on these things.
So this is the Christmas episode, right? That's usually how we refer to it, or we call it the Scrooge episode. I actually didn't remember the name of this episode. I had to look. I was like, what am I right? What's the title? A Little Miracle. Okay. So yeah, it's a fun episode. It's a little bit of a silly one. You know, if you know the story of Scrooge, you kind of got to know that to appreciate what's happening in this episode. If you don't know the basic outline of that, you're going to be confused on what's going on.
I mean, I would imagine that pretty much there are not very many people who are not familiar with the story of Scrooge.
So yeah, it was a Christmas episode. The leap takes place on Christmas Eve. As you said, it actually aired around Christmas time.
Yeah, I believe it was a couple of days before.
So this was an all-and-out Christmas episode, you know, where it was airing as the Christmas episode. Which,
much like Boogeyman was the Halloween episode, this is the Christmas episode.
Yeah, and TV shows don't do that as much anymore. You still get some. You'll get these weird things where, you know, they'll have a Christmas episode like one season, and then every other year it's like, we don't.
The one show that did do it was the show that we watched, This Is Us.
Yes, This Is Us did it most seasons. I think, like, was it the last season they skipped Christmas and Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I think they had, like, some type of episode.
But it, like, wasn't at the right time, I mean. Yeah, and that was, I think, COVID-related. Their whole filming schedule got a little wacky.
Yeah, this is definitely up there on one of my favorite episodes of Quantum Leap.
Is it?
It's not the favorite, but it's up there.
Okay.
I think it would probably be top 10, top 20.
Oh, that's interesting. This one's just kind of middle of the road for me.
No? Yeah.
I don't particularly love it, but
I love the performances, particularly from Dean Stockwell, who I think had a blast during this episode.
Yeah, he definitely had one of his most memorable performances in this episode, one that made its way into the opening credits for, I don't know if it was just for that season or if that one stuck. I don't remember. I don't recall.
I don't quite recall. All right, so Sam leaps in, sitting on the floor, holding up a pair of underwear and a naked guy in front of him. The naked guy is his boss, Michael Blake, and he's played by Charles Rocket. And he put some talc on his underwear and credits. Well, that was certainly an interesting opening for sure. I remember, like, thinking, what the heck is this when I was a kid? Like, what is this? Like, when that was my reaction when I was a kid.
Yeah, we didn't grow up in a community that that would understand this. We're not from that class.
Right.
Yeah, and then they quickly tell us, Al comes and tells us, oh, well, you're a valet. And I remember as a kid, I didn't know what that meant. The only reference I had to the word valet is someone who parks your car.
Right.
So yeah, I remember being really confused about what this was when I was would have first seen this when I was 8 when this came out. So.
Right. And I think I would have been 9. Yeah. Okay. So this guy, Michael Blake, is played by Charles Rocket. He has 2 appearances on this series. The other is the season 4 finale, A Leap for Lisa, as a captain.
Yeah.
Or is it a captain or an admiral?
He was one of the big bosses.
Right. Either way,
I hadn't realized that, but
Yes.
now that you say it, absolutely got it.
Yep. Either way, regardless of his rank, he wants Al to die because he thinks he killed and raped his wife, and that's certainly an understandable motivation there.
And he equally hates Al in this episode.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't even really make that connection.
The original Quantum Leap series did this a lot, where we had actors play multiple roles. I mean, a lot of shows do that. You can think of, Law and Order universe, where everybody's played 20 people.
Yep. That doesn't happen quite as much as it used to back in the day. They don't recycle actors quite as much.
Right. And it's always funny when you look at multiple characters that one actor played, and did you think no one would notice?
Right.
And you can go back to when these shows were originally airing. I don't think they realized that television was going to turn into what it is today. Where we binge watch a series and see everything not 3 years apart from each other, and where everything is so accessible and so easy to pick up on these things.
Right. Yep. Altogether, Charles Rocket has 87 acting appearances, including Star Trek Voyager, The X-Files, Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, where he was directed by Michael W. Watkins, the director of this episode.
Okay.
So that was kind of a funny little reunion. He unfortunately died on October 7th at 2005 at the age of 56, which is way young. So yeah, that was unfortunate. When we come back from the credits, Sam is following around his thankfully dressed boss, who's a high-powered guy. He instructs an underling, which I think is Calloway in this episode.
Yes, Calloway is his assistant guy.
To get rid of a Christmas tree and get a bigger one. At least I think that's what's going on. Because later he just wants to get rid of the tree altogether.
Well, because later he has even less Christmas spirit than he does right now in the morning. Yeah.
I never have Christmas spirit, so I kind of feel
can relate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think fortunately, I don't think I'm going to get visited by the 3 ghosts because I don't have a lot of money.
But yeah, in this scene, he was like, the tree's not big enough. Get me a bigger one. Because his whole philosophy on life is, I have to buy the biggest and best of everything. And that, of course, is what makes you happy, right?
Right, absolutely. And Blake needs help with absolutely everything. He needs his chair pulled out. He needs his napkin put on his chin or whatever. Yeah, basically, he seems pretty helpless. I mean, he needed help putting on his underwear earlier on, but yeah, I would not want that job. That's for damn sure.
I mean, I wouldn't want someone to have that job either.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird.
It's kind of awkward, but
weird.
Whatever. All right, so he demands to know where his newspaper is, and Blake suggests to a befuddled Sam to check the foyer, where it always is.
Yeah, Sam's at this point not doing a great job.
Oh no, he does a terrible job in this episode.
To the point where the assistant Calloway is like, do you think we should fire him?
Right.
Him being, of course, the person Sam has leapt into, which is Reginald Pearson.
Yep.
And there we go, another shout out to This Is Us.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
He is a Pearson, which is what, Blake calls him throughout the episode. We only hear his first name one time when Al tells it to us, but he is Pearson, and I gotta think somewhere in my headcanon that he's some distant relative of Jack's.
Probably. Maybe a cousin or something. Eventually, Sam finds his way. He sees his mirror image and is getting the date from the newspaper when Al makes his first appearance at the 4-minute and 49-second mark. He's wearing a crazy Hawaiian shirt that I'm sure Adam was very fond of.
Yeah, I'm sure you're fond of it too.
Oh, I definitely
You have
am.
been known to sport
Yes.
a Hawaiian shirt from time to time.
I want to start wearing those again. maybe find Al's shirt specifically because it was pretty.
You should wear a Al-inspired Hawaiian shirt for our trivia.
Maybe
which we will be recording on video.
I'm gonna have to find one. All right. Sam complains about being a 200-pound valet, but Al thinks he should count his blessing that he's not Santa Claus in front of Macy's.
That might be fun though.
Yeah. Do Macy's still exist?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure because like a lot of these type of stores are going out of business, or
I think Macy's is still around. I don't know. I think so.
I haven't seen one in forever, but then again, I haven't been in a mall forever either. So, Sam comments on Al's wardrobe, and Al says that when he is where he is, it's not Christmas; it's the middle of July.
Yeah, which is funny. So this episode we talked about, it's taking place over Christmas. It aired around Christmas, and the next episode that would air after this takes place on the 4th of July.
I didn't. Yeah, that would be the Runaway episode.
Yeah.
Which is a lesser episode than this one, for sure. But
so it aired, I think, January and takes place in July. So this felt like a good setup for that we're dealing with this July/Christmas situation here. Because we're going to go right from Christmas to July, as far as Sam's concerned.
I did not make that connection. Blake calls for Sam, and Al asks, Sam asks, wow, I'm a little confused here. Sam asks who he's working for, and apparently Blake is one of the richest guys in the country. Blake made his money by buying and selling mom-and-pop operations, and now does that with big corporations. Al says he put more people out of work than the Great Depression.
Yeah, so he's one of those cutthroat, not friendly business guys.
I don't want to know him.
No.
Maybe I would like to know him at the end of the episode, but definitely not during this stage. I definitely wouldn't want to work for him either.
Oh, definitely
Especially not if I have to, kneel before him while he's naked. That would be very awkward. Anyway, Pearson, Sam's host, has worked for Blake for 3 years. Don't know how he's managed that, but whatever. And, their relationship is interesting because Blake puts up with a lot of crap from Sam that I'm surprised that he even tolerates.
Yeah.
Like, some things that Sam ends up saying to him is like, wow, why doesn't Blake just, fire him on the spot?
Right. And we got that, like I said, Calloway mentions to Blake while Sam is playing with the intercom, which I think you're about to get to.
Right.
He says, should we fire him? And Blake was kind of like, of course I'm not going to fire him. So you can tell, he cares about him.
There's a closer relationship than just a boss-employee relationship.
Right. And there would have to be if this is the person who bathes and dresses you.
Right. I guess so. So Sam asks why he's there, and Al tells him that it's a little tricky because he might have to bathe him. We just said that, so that's interesting. That tracks with what we've seen so far. Sam finally gets Blake his paper. They get into a political conversation with Calloway about Russia. Sam pipes in to say that there will be no war with Russia. In fact, one day they will work together as our allies, and that earns a look from the two of Calloway and Blake.
Yeah, it's 1962. We're pretty deep in the Cold War at that point.
and it's kind of funny because at the point that Sam is from, we were becoming more friendly, but now in our current day, it's gone back the other direction.
Yeah.
So this exchange is particularly funny given the state of our current world. Sam hears a buzzer and thinks it's a phone, and Blake corrects him saying it's just the intercom, as we were just discussing. Blake asks the kiss-ass Calloway if they're... we've already talked about that. This is basically the moment.
Sorry.
No.
This is what happens when I talk. I pull things out of order and break your notes.
This is the moment where Calloway ends up asking Blake if they should fire Pearson. The buzzer is Bert the doorman saying that there is a Captain Downey waiting for him in the lobby. Captain Kissass tells Blake that it's the Salvation Army people, and Blake tells Sam to get rid of them. Sam asks how, and Blake doesn't care. Tell him I'm busy. Tell him I'm not here. Tell him that I'm out of the country. Tell him to go invade a country. Hell, I don't care. Just get rid of them. Sam appears ready to argue that he should meet up, he should talk to them, but then one look from Blake shuts him up. And so Sam goes out, intercepts Captain Downey, who is with a marching band. Downey is played by Melinda McGraw, who I recognize as having played Scully's sister in The X-Files.
Okay.
And Al is there for some reason.
So yeah, Al's along for the
Did
party.
he ever leave? Was he just hanging in the lobby?
He must have just been hanging around, yeah.
Probably checking out the maids.
It's funny because Al hasn't told Sam, like, what are you doing here for, right? We haven't covered that yet. But Sam takes a really strong opinion that he should be supporting Captain Downey in this discussion.
I mean, it makes sense from his character, but yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting that he took such a perspective without knowing the story, without knowing the original history.
Mm-hmm. Downey says that Blake is never available, and that he never returns a phone call, and that he's not going to let Blake she is not going to let Blake tear down the 4th Street mission, and she is there to tell him that to his face.
Yeah, and she's been trying to get an audience with him for 18 months. So this has been going on for a year and a half. We're now, what did they said either a week or 2 weeks away from demolition supposed to be happening. And now you come to his house?
Right. You probably should have tried this.
Probably should have sped this up a little bit if he's not answering your letters for 18 months.
Right. Sam says happily that he's sure Blake has no intention of tearing down the mission.
Yeah, which was a silly thing to say.
He has absolutely no idea of Blake's intentions, but Blake enters the scene to tell them his intentions, which is he definitely plans to do that.
Which is funny that, Blake chose this moment to be like, okay, I guess I'm going to go deal with these people myself.
Right.
I don't know if he didn't trust Sam to get rid of them,
I definitely wouldn't. I'm not sure why he gave him that mission in the first place.
It's his job.
Oh, yeah, so he ends up mistaking the older man.
Yeah, there's an older man there, and he assumes that must be Captain Downey, right?
Right, so I guess he's a little bit sexist. But when he actually learns who Captain Downey is, he's taken aback.
Yeah.
And he looks like, whoa, this is a really beautiful woman.
Yeah, he's clearly...
he's thrown off for a little bit.
You can tell throughout the whole episode that he is attracted to her, and that will become important in his motivations and how we're going to fix things here.
The actual Downey tells Blake that Sam is right. He shouldn't tear down the mission. And Sam says he's sure they perform a very valuable service. Do you think Blake cares? Did you forget that this is a billionaire that you're working for? Actually, I don't even know if it is a billionaire, just one of the richest people in the world. I mean, I guess that would probably make you a billionaire. But then again, I don't know, though. Were there billionaires in 1962?
I don't know.
Okay.
He's very well off.
Yes. Downey makes her case and shares a report. Blake considers this irrelevant, saying his attorneys have been in touch for over a year, giving them ample time to move. Downey says there is nowhere to go. Blake, of course, doesn't care. She needs to be out by the 31st, or he loses his permits and his big plans for that property, specifically the Blake Plaza. Sam continues to argue for them, but Blake says he should worry about his own job and let him worry about his. He starts to walk away, and Al says, which is being a grouch. Blake turns around and addresses Al, asking him, what did you just say? And Al looks like very shocked because Blake is looking directly at him. He's just like, and Calloway ends up asking, who are you talking to, sir? And Blake turns around to face Calloway, this jerk right here. And Al takes his time to basically disappear. He uses the hand wink to get the heck out of there. And when Blake turns around, he's not there anymore. And then he basically tells everybody, Sam, to basically just get everybody out of here.
Yeah, so Blake had assumed that he was with the Salvation Army people. And that's why this weirdly dressed man is standing in his building here.
Now, I can't quite remember when the last time we had a plot point that involved somebody seeing Al. I don't think it was...
forget the order of episodes because my current watch through, I'm almost finished and we're in season 5. But there were several episodes throughout the series where it happens.
I know it happened in Another Mother.
Of course, yeah. Now
I'm not sure if that's the last episode, though.
Here's the thing. Usually when someone can see Al, they can also see Sam.
Right.
Whether it's children, animals, those with lowered mental capacity. They can see Sam as well. And clearly this Blake cannot see Sam. They explain that the reason that this is happening is because his neurons and mesons are similar to Sam's. So he can see Al the way that Sam can see Al. But yeah, it was always a little weird to me that, well, you can see Al, but you can't see Sam.
Right.
It's a little convenient.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a silly explanation.
Yeah.
But it does just enough to justify the story.
Right.
And that's what the original series did with sci-fi concepts.
The closest I can think of where they ever did something similar was when we could hear Al, and that was in A Portrait for Troyan.
Right.
Where somebody could hear Al, but didn't see Sam.
And they justified that with technological gobbledygook.
Yeah, it was about like...
It was like a recorder or something like that. Earthquake monitoring equipment.
Yeah. Sounds.
Yeah.
Recordings and...
So, anyway. Al has Ziggy fix that problem, so now only Sam will be able to see him.
Yeah, they fine-tuned the connection so that the link between Al and Sam's neurons and mesons was just a little bit more exact, and that should make it so Blake can't see him anymore.
All right, so Sam once again wonders why he's there, and he thinks it's to save the mission. Oh, but no. Al says it's to save Blake's soul.
Yeah, which was a weird thing to be said.
Okay. So, of course, this is the story that we're going with. So, of course, that's the ultimate... We're telling a Scrooge story.
Yeah.
But it is a really weird thing for Al to assume. Did Ziggy be like, there's a 96% chance that you are here to save Blake's soul?
Save his soul.
That seems like a really weird mission to be put
upon.
Yeah,
you would think it'd be like, you're here to
save the mission.
And then you're here to make him, make better choices in his life.
Right. It's just so... It's weird. But it's fun, but it's weird. So anyway, Sam later asks, how is he supposed to do that? But Al doesn't have a lot of information about that guy. So you don't have a lot of information, background about this guy, like his past or anything like that. But you know that you're here to save his soul.
Like, we don't even really know who he is, but you gotta save him.
Right.
In a biblical sense.
Sam suggests if you want to know a guy, you check his closet. And Al makes fun of him for this, saying, oh yeah, check the closet. You'll find a big box of information. And Sam ends up coming out with this cigar box of pictures, which has a big amount of information.
Yeah.
Which includes the fact that Michael Blake changed his name. Michael Blakowski or something
Michael Blakowski is the name he was born with. And there's pictures of him as a child. We learned that he is from a much lower class. He was not raised in this world that we're living in right now. And Al realizes this is why we don't have information on him, because he changed his name.
Right.
Which, is something that we talked about in our discussions about the new series.
Yeah. When you change your name, isn't there still a connection to the old identity?
Right. This wasn't
in the records.
This wasn't like a fake identity. This was he changed his name. So yeah, there should have been a paper trail, and Ziggy should have probably had all of this straight up. But I think a dog just went tumbling above us.
Well, I hope that's what happened, because otherwise, someone's seriously hurt up there.
So we got the pictures. We learned about Blake's past.
And Sam suggests that they check with Ziggy to find out where the pictures were taken. Al brings up Scrooge, which Sam realizes that that's what they have to do.
Yep, they're going to Scrooge him.
Sam takes off to get some help, which Al is all offended. Hey, what do you think I'm here for? And Sam says, well, I'm trying to get different help.
Yeah, and he goes to visit Captain Downing.
And he thinks that he can save the mission, but he will need her help to do it. And she's all for it.
Yeah, she doesn't even ask any questions. She's like, when are we going to start?
Right.
What do you need me to do? I'll do anything.
You might want to check the terms and conditions to check and see if that's what you actually want to do.
Yeah, I mean, she trusts Sam because she saw that he was on her side, right?
I'm kind of curious, is this the only time that the two of them have come into contact, or do they know each other previously?
I feel like this was the first time, because she'd only talked about phone calls and letters previously.
Gotcha. Blake, meanwhile, is grousing with about Pearson disappearing to Callaway, and brags about his amazing business prowess. He specifically brings up Henderson's, a bakery that he automated. And this will come up later. And it's interesting that we have this little scene that doesn't involve Sam or Al. He goes down in the elevator and disappears. And I think at this point he's telling... No, I don't think that happens later, so never mind. Blake is surprised to find Sam driving his car instead of George. Because according to Sam, George had some kind of an emergency.
Yeah, but we know that's not true.
Right.
Sam must have sent George home, given him the Christmas Eve off. and has taken the place of his driver. This is the part where Sam is trying to give Blake the Ghost of Christmas Past.
And he does this by including the pictures in the back seat. Sam has a lame excuse for how that happened, and ends up talking about a woman in the picture, who turns out to be Blake's mother. Sam says that his father was a lucky woman, but this just makes Blake angry.
His father was not a lucky woman.
Lucky man. A lucky man. But either way, he wasn't a lucky man either. He was a violent drunk.
Yeah, Blake took offense to
Right.
a compliment for his father.
Right, so not a good job there, Sam. He ends up closing the window on Sam. Sam stops at Skid Row randomly. Captain Downey's lieutenant sends a kid to let out the air from one of the tires.
Yeah, the car breaks down.
Inside the car, Sam is saying that, I think we have a flat tire. And Blake is like, well, that's ridiculous. We would have felt it. And Sam's like, no, I really think we have a flat tire. They get out of the car, and sure enough, he has a flat tire.
Yeah, imagine. How convenient.
Outside the car, Blake starts having flashbacks to his childhood.
So yeah, he recognizes the neighborhood, and he looks, at first he's like really offended. He's like, why are you driving here? What are we doing in Skid Row? We shouldn't be we don't belong here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks and he sees like, was it a newsstand on the corner?
Yep.
And he sees what used to be his house, and he's hearing these voices, and he realizes this is exactly the street I grew up on.
And wouldn't you know it, Captain Downey is also just randomly here. Blake starts walking down memory lane, talking to Downey as he goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned the kids. And I think I cut you off. There was this group of kids, and they were literally like chanting, like Michael Blakowski, blah 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 blah, and he like thinks he's hallucinating all of this, right? But the kids are actually there, and unfortunately, that'll come back later.
Okay, so he takes Downey to buy some chestnuts.
Yes.
The vendor turns out to be someone that Blake used to know, in Max. They are excited to see each other. They reminisce, but then Blake realizes that an old friend died 4 years ago, getting drunk and jumping in front of a bus. His friend got laid off from Henderson's, the bakery, which was automated.
Yeah.
And that was thanks to Blake himself.
So, thanks to one of his savvy business deals that made him super rich, we already heard that, he's laid off lots of people. One of his best childhood friends was laid off and killed himself because of it. And we also found out that this friend had 5 kids he left behind. Tragic, tragic story. And Blake, of course, realizes this is his fault, and
he gets really upset.
Any progress that has been made to this point, he is now super depressed, and this is, I think, when he decides to pretend it's not Christmas.
He ends up giving Max a bunch of money, which Max objects to, but he walks away in a huff.
Yeah, he's feeling not great about who he is, which is the goal.
But Sam thinks at this point that he's made a mistake.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right, between am I helping or making things worse?
Right. Back at the mansion, Blake is upset. Al appears, and Sam thinks he shouldn't have taken him back to his old neighborhood. Al is confused by this, saying, what we're doing is working. You took him to his old neighborhood, he's had an experience, and he's sitting there reflecting about it. This is exactly what should be happening.
Right.
And I love how Dean Stockwell delivers these lines. I just kind of really like Dean Stockwell in the scene.
Sam reminisces about his own Christmas in '62.
Yeah, he spent the time with Tom playing in the snow.
Yeah, his dad got them a sled, and they played all day. He was 9 years old. And I feel like, listening to this scene, okay, I'm going to ask you this, because I feel it felt deja vu. And was it something in the new series that recently we talked about, that someone referred to something that happened when they were, like, what am I saying? I'm babbling, sorry. I feel like there was a moment where it was like, oh, right now you're doing this at this point in history. You're here with your family or whatever.
I can't say that I know what you're referring to, but I know that something like that happened like plenty of times in the original series. Like Sam brought up some memory he had, like where he was at that time.
Yeah, this just brought me back to a real specific conversation we had recently, and I don't know why.
Oh, but of course you can't actually remember the details of the conversation.
Yeah, sorry. Anyways.
Okay, so Blake turns to see Sam talking to himself, but doesn't really say anything until Sam brings him a drink. And it's really interesting because you see Blake turn to see Sam talking to himself, but he says absolutely nothing about it until Sam wanders over there. Sam says he feels sorry for Blake, and this is one of these moments where I'm like, wow, like Sam as the employee of Blake is really crossing the line
But,
here.
you know, I mean, how else is he going to make any changes?
I mean, sure, but Blake doesn't react all that badly to Sam saying this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, you know, is Sam's host, Pearson, maybe this is how he is. Maybe he does push the lines a little bit.
Blake is incredulous. He's smiling, and Sam says he has everything money can buy, but he's miserable, and he will bet a month's rent he can prove Blake wrong.
And a month's rent, we learned, is actually more money than Pearson makes in a year. Which, God, take care of your employees. Jeez.
Yeah, right? Okay, so Sam takes him to Blake Plaza and asks him to touch it.
Yeah, this is the Ghost of Christmas Present now. This is...
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did forget to mention that. Al is now saying that he should take him in to show him
like, here's
Blake's
who
present.
you are today. Yeah.
He feels nothing, and Sam says, that's right, no warmth and no love. Blake says he's had people who loved him, but they all leave in the end. But the plaza is his shot at immortality. Sam says he hopes they will remember him kindly. This pisses Blake off, saying that Sam is his employee, not his conscience. Blake tells him to pay up, as he did not prove his point. But as they approach the car, they hear Carol of the Bells playing, being sung. And this is a really creepy song. Carol of the Bells. Anytime I hear it in a television show, it creeps me out.
Really?
Like, there was an episode of the West Wing where, I'm sure you didn't watch that series.
I did not, no.
But there's a character, Josh Lyman, who's high up in the government, and he's having PTSD, and he hears that song at the end, and it's really creepily done. So every time I hear that song, I kind of feel that.
Okay.
But anyway.
So yeah, the Christmas carols are being sung from where?
The Salvation Army.
Yeah,
which
inside
I'm sure
the mission, which is very convenient because, of course, that's the location of the Blake Plaza.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
Blake and Sam go to the mission, and basically he's, dragging Blake along. And we get a big hint that Blake has a thing for Captain Downey.
Yeah.
Downey greets him warmly. Blake tells him the building needs to come down, and, he has a lot riding on the project, and Downey wishes him well, which surprises Blake. Sam suckers Blake into staying for more singing, which I think they were singing Joy to the World.
Joy to the World, yeah, was the next song they started singing.
The song ends, and Blake is so in love, you can see it on his face. Downey announces a surprise, which turns out to be something or other.
Food.
It's a honey nut cake and some other type of cake. It's a tradition, according to...
Which resonated with Blake, because this is stuff from his childhood. Of course, he grew up in this neighborhood.
Downey bonds with Blake some more, and it seems like things are going really well. A kid comes over with a horse to give Blake, and then, it seems like things are going really well.
Yeah, this kid is our Tiny Tim of the story.
Right.
He was there during the singing, being real kind to Blake, and now he gives him this present, which is a horse that had a leg missing, I think.
The three-legged horse.
And it was just a touching moment, like, oh, you have nothing, and you want to give this to me, and you could tell that Blake was moved by it, right? This is really working. And then it doesn't, because
Al notices that the odds are going down. He's really surprised. Sam sees a bunch of kids running around, and he realizes that he knows why. And I'm actually confused. What exactly made Blake realize that he was being played?
Okay, so this group of boys that comes into the mission is the group of boys from earlier.
Okay.
That were playing out the scene, saying, Mikey Blakowski, you blah, 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 blah. And he realized that the whole thing was a setup. Okay. He wasn't hallucinating those kids. They weren't representations of his childhood in his mind. He realizes that Downey and Pearson set him up in that whole meeting earlier was planned. He suddenly realizes this whole thing is they're playing him.
Gotcha. That was a moment that has confused me for a really long time. I never understood why all of a sudden he realized he was being played.
Because he realized they were the same kids and realized that it was all an act.
See, I actually thought those kids were in his mind, literally.
Okay, see?
So I didn't realize that those were the same kids.
I'll say again, this is why you need me.
Right, absolutely. I should have had you around when I was 9 years old to explain things to me.
It's watching television with my mother. I have to explain what's happening to her.
All right, so yeah, he gets pissed off. He gets up and thinks that, oh, well played.
Yeah, and I feel like he takes it even harder because he really likes this woman, right? And now he feels like this whole thing is just in jest, and he probably feels like, oh, we had a connection, and no, you're just trying to get me to give you what you want, and you're being really mean to me right now.
So as a result, he's going to tear down the mission in 1 week, and he's probably going to set the thing on fire at this point by himself. So back at the mansion, Blake dismisses Sam. Sam tries to argue his case, but Blake says he's going to bed, and he better hope he doesn't feel like firing Sam in the morning. Al appears, and Sam feels like he's making things worse, that Blake will never believe him again, and that it would be a miracle to complete this mission. But Sam gets an idea, that he needs the ghost of Christmas Future, and here comes my favorite Al scenes of all time. Al wakes up Blake, dressed in this crazy outfit.
Yeah, now, remember this is possible because all they had to do was unfine-tune those Meson neuron connections back to whatever they were at the beginning, I believe.
And Blake isn't fooled for a while.
Yeah, he recognizes him from earlier in the day. He's like, you're that weird guy from the lobby. And remember, he thinks he works with the Salvation Army.
Right. Until Blake tries to go at Al and goes straight through him.
Yeah, he tries to punch him and does this tumble off of the bottom of the bed. And realizes, oh, you're not just some guy in bad makeup. Which, I mean, he is, but...
Right. But he's a little bit more than that at the same time. Al uses the handling to float, and then laughs scarily. Blake screams for Sam, but Sam claims to not be able to see Al.
Right. Of course, Pearson can't see this ghost.
It's really funny seeing Scott Bakula play someone who can see Al, but pretends not to see him. It's really kind of funny.
And it makes you think about filming these scenes,
right.
And all of their guest stars having to pretend that he's not in the room.
And then Sam has to do this, but do it badly at the same time.
Which, I'm wondering if that's why they introduced the concept of animals can see Al. Because, of course, animal actors are not going to ignore him.
Wow, you can't train animals not to see Al? Okay. Blake begs Sam to get Al out of there. Al is clearly having a fun time and wondering if this is even acting on Stockwell's part. I think he's just having a grand old time. You see, I think there's a reaction from Al that I think is just a reaction from Stockwell himself.
Yeah,
it's
possibly.
Fun. Al tells Blake to get the car, and Blake tells Sam to do the same thing. Sam takes him to the Blake Plaza, where Al shows up and shows him the future. He projects an image of the Blake.
Yeah, this holographic image of this gorgeous building. It's everything Blake's ever wanted. He sees this as, this is my accomplishment for my life. Now, is the Blake Plaza supposed to be representative of Trump?
I mean, I got the feeling that the creators were going for something like that. That they were kind of that Blake is basically
Trump
an analog
Tower.
For Trump.
Yeah.
I got that feeling.
Which, I mean, that's something I always thought was the comparison here, growing up. But then it's funny because Trump literally does exist in Quantum Leap World as well. Sam meets Trump later.
Right. Wait, does he actually meet Trump?
Yes, in the other Christmas episode, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, season 4's Christmas episode, which is the Angel episode.
Oh, that's right.
I forget the name of it.
Okay.
He's a taxi driver, and a young Donald Trump is one of his passengers.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's interesting that they're both Christmas episodes.
Oh, you know what's funny? I actually forgot that was an actual episode and not a skit on one of the...
There was a skit.
There was. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, there was a skit that involved that scenario as well.
That was... I can't remember the name, but it showed up on the Colbert Show where they did a skit where Scott Bakula reprises the role. and tries to talk Trump out of being like president or
right.
whatever.
But yeah, that actually happened in the Angel episode.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, I didn't realize that actually happened in that episode. I thought that was just a skit on the Colbert Show or whatever. Okay, so Al shows him a future news report, which shows Blake declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah, so it went from there's my beautiful building to, oh, wait, bad stuff happens to me?
Yes, and after telling him about that, the newscaster says, and then in this world in sports, and yeah, that's an interesting segue from that newscaster. Anyway, Al tells him that he wanted it all and ended up with nothing. Zero, zip, zilch.
And he shows him the building again with somebody else's name on it.
Was it like Summit Plaza? I couldn't even really read it.
I didn't write down who it was, but the point is Blake lost it, filed bankruptcy, lost his building, and then, unfortunately, took his life.
Yep, he jumped off what was the Blake Plaza, killing himself, which is, a nice little bit of irony. And at this point, Blake is basically a blubbering mess.
And Al shows him his own grave.
And says...
And he's, like, sitting on the grave. We can see that this happened. He died in 1976, so a little ways off in the future. But I was confused by this. How is he showing him a grave? Is this a Halloween prop they brought into the imaging chamber?
I mean, they could have gone and...
Like, the holographic image of the building, I get.
Right.
The broadcasting of the news through the imaging chamber, I get.
Right.
But, like, here's a prop physical that Al's sitting on. How is that working?
I don't know. They could have made something like that. I don't know how they
like
would
the
have,
only thing I can come up with is this is physically a prop they brought into the imaging chamber.
Maybe they went to the actual gravestone and
built
dug
an imaging chamber around. That was the one part that got me. I was like, how's he doing that? Come on.
All right, I see that. He has no friends, no family, and no love.
Because it wasn't just, here's an image of it. It's literally Al was interacting with it.
Right. No, I got you. Okay. No, it makes total sense that that's your problem. I don't have a justification for that. Anyway, Blake cries and collapses, saying he doesn't want to die alone. He's helped up by Sam, and Al is gone. Blake says he's a horrible man, and Sam agrees, which I found really funny. He's basically, yep, sir, you definitely are. Blake doesn't want it to end like that. Hated, forgotten, and alone. Sam says he still has time to change things. And Blake says, do you really think so? And Sam does. Blake looks up and sees a shining star pointed at the mission. He thinks it's a sign. Blake wanders over, and Downey opens the door. Blake asks, do you have room for one last lost soul? And she says, of course she does. Sam asks what happens to him. He marries Downey, which I think
6 months.
Which I think is a little bit unrealistic. Their relationship is very unrealistic. I think.
But,
it's nice, but...
We have to wrap it up with a pretty bow.
Mm-hmm.
So they get married in 6 months, and they have 3 kids.
Ooh, they were busy bunnies. Sam is surprised that the plaza is still built, with the missionary on the first floor. Sam wonders if he would have gone over there if Al hadn't put the star over there. But Al had nothing to do with it.
At least this Al didn't.
Right. It starts snowing. Sam wishes Al a Merry Christmas. And Al says it back. And then Sam leaves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the episode.
And a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Stacy, though...
It's not December and it's not July. But
oh, okay.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. It is April, though.
It is April.
We're somewhere in between there. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I really like this episode.
And he leaps into the 4th of July.
Ah, yes.
In Runaway.
Runaway, which will be the next episode we will cover eventually. I'm not sure when we're going to do that exactly. I don't really know what our schedule is.
Yeah, it'll happen at some point in the future.
I know that we're going to be doing trivia on the original series. We're going to be doing all seasons individually, 1 through 5, plus the new season, the revival show. So if there are any fans of the original series who wants to participate in that, get in contact with either me or Stacy. Stacy, do you have any other thoughts about this episode?
And I think we covered everything. Again, it was fun. Not one of my favorites, but I'm glad you really enjoyed it.
I mostly enjoy it because I kind of like Charles Rocket as an actor.
Okay.
And I do like the Scrooge scenario. And Dean Stockwell's performance in this episode is a lot of fun.
Yeah. It had to have been a fun day in makeup, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He wore this very white makeup with dark red ears and a mouth, and then he's covered in like vines and chains.
And he also has this like glowing hat thing going on.
Yeah, even crazier clothes than usual.
Does Al want to? I mean, I'm sorry. Does Adam want this outfit? Have you asked him about that?
I don't recall if he had opinions on this particular episode outfit. He usually does though. Every episode we watch, he's like, "Oh my god, I love Al's jacket. I love Al's tie. Oh, honey, can you buy me that?"
All right, so we would like to hear from you. Stacy can be reached at?
I can be reached on Twitter at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can join my Corn Productions Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can buy me a coffee, which is a new way to support content creators such as myself. You can join Stacy's Facebook, Quantum Leap Facebook page. You can buy something from the Corn Productions store on Zazzle. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave and Stacy from Corn Productions, signing off.